because of the events of this past week, the night has become a deeper, sadder, and more personal occasion as the Flyers family, the team, the members of the organization and its fans gathered to mourn the loss of one of its own. It will be the Oilers and Flyers later. But first, we ask you to share in a memorial ceremony for Pelle Lindbergh, next on Prism.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bobby Taylor. It's been a difficult and trying last few days, not only for the players and the people that are associated with the Flyers, but I'm sure with you fans as well. Tonight, we'll pay tribute to a young man who touched us all and left a part of himself with everyone that he met, Pelle Lindbergh. With me is Flyers coach Mike Keenan. Michael, goaltenders are always considered a breed apart, and this young man certainly was.
Well, he distinguished himself on the ice, certainly, Bob, as being the best National Hockey League goaltender last year, and of course he was leading us in that direction again this year with his fine play, and he had some things that I guess I could share with the fans now, and knowing some of the idiosyncrasies of Pelle and the anecdotes that would bring him a little bit closer to us. A couple of things that he used to always prepare himself. For example, we had the great series with Washington last year, and it was during the course of that game I became very concerned about dehydration of Pelle, and I went in and demanded me take off the sweater, and I grabbed the sweater and took it off, and he looked at me, and the trainers come running, "Oh, no, you can't do that. He has special idiosyncrasies." And after the game, after we won, he came to me and said, "Coach, I guess it doesn't really make that much difference." And then I thought we had that problem solved until this year. In his last game, I went up to him and I was talking to him, leaning over him, talking about some of the things that he should be doing, challenging the goalie and so on, or challenging the shooters rather. And at the same time, I kicked his mask and gloves on the floor, and he jumps up immediately and adjusts them on the floor and fixes them and straightens them and said, "I still have to have my certain idiosyncrasies in place." He didn't use that word, obviously, but he was telling me that I got away with it once, never again. So he had his own way, and one thing that we always used to do, too, is shake hands after a win. I remember I walked in one night and got preoccupied with some of the post-game activity and forgot to go over there, and it dawned on me about 5 minutes later, and sure enough, he's sitting in the corner waiting for me to come over and shake his hand. So he was a different individual, but a great human being.
How are you going to handle that locker room?
That's a very difficult challenge for us all tonight, but I believe in this hockey club and the people that are on it. They have great character, and they've shown it in the past, and they've shown it through the last 3 or 4 days of very trying times, and the strength of the team as a group is extremely great, and I think the personal strength of each player has been brought out in this tragedy, and I'm sure that we'll make it through the night somehow.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Let's go down now to Ed Van Impe and Gene Hart.
Eddie Van Impe, certainly tragedy is no stranger to the Philadelphia Flyers organization, and I go back to May 1st of 1977.
Well, at that time, the Flyers lost Barry Ashby, who was a very valued defenseman prior to becoming, a real asset as a coach. And thinking back to that, Gene, I mean, it was tough for the Flyers to accept at that time. He was so well liked, so well respected, and so well thought of throughout the hockey world, and it was such a big loss that it took some time to adjust and to deal with it.
Eddie, on Sunday, there was a finality to Pelle Lindbergh because of the severity of his injuries. You were advised in April 1st in a dressing room here to my left, just following practice before a playoff game with Toronto, that Barry had contracted leukemia. Was there a feeling of finality then, or was there hope for him?
No, I think, Gene, there's an awful lot of hope, because you knew Barry, I know Barry, and when Barry said that he was going to beat the disease, he just took it because Barry was saying it, that he was going to do it. And he just kind of said, well, if Barry said he's going to beat leukemia, it's got said and done. But that was not the case. But I think that there was an awful lot of, I guess, hope and respect towards Barry Ashby. We just expected him to beat the disease.
Eddie, in a sense, you were the senior citizen of that club. When did it begin to dawn on you that he wasn't going to make it?
Well, I think, Gene, that I guess the more we visited Barry, the more we, were with him and to spend time with him and everything else, he realized as hard as he was fighting, the disease was winning. And we went to visit him in the hospital, and you could tell, the disease was, in the advanced stages. And I guess the club just felt that Barry had more than he could really handle.
No one's an expert, I can't believe, in this era, but since you've lived through that, if you were to go in that dressing room next door and talk to these young players, how might you ask them or tell them they handled this?
Well, I think a lot like Barry. I think that Pelle is a very, very respected player, you know, throughout the league, and especially with his teammates. Barry loved to win, Pelle loved to win, and I think what you could do most for them is to do them proud by going out and doing a great job and winning the game and having a great season.
We'll be back more after this.
The start of the special ceremonies and to Pelle this evening. And Eddie, a lot of people probably wonder why the game is being played, and Edmonton graciously offered to cancel the game or at least postpone it for a while. And in a way, when you really think about it, and we think back being familiar in this situation and other players, that playing the game tonight is probably the best medicine that this young team could have.
I couldn't agree more, Bobby. I think it was awfully nice of the Edmonton Oilers and Glenn Sather in particular to offer to postpone the game, but I totally agree with Flyers management with playing the game tonight. I think that the game had to be played sooner or later. Pelle's, you know, left and will no longer be, you know, with the Flyers or with us at all, and I think for the team to get underway as quickly as possible. I think that, you know what, Bobby, that's what Pelle would want himself.
You know, I've talked to a couple of players throughout the day, and they said that to the last one, that, you know, Gump wants to win. He loves the challenge, and has been brought out about that, and how he liked to play the top teams and the best there is. And he would want them to play, and he would want them to go out there and do their best. And it's almost a tonic in a sense that when you do hurt or when you do have anger built up in you, the best thing to do is do something physical, is to work out that aggression, work out that anger and that sorrow, and in doing something physical and doing it, you know, getting the sweat, so to speak, on the brow, because there's not much you can do. The tears have gone. You can only cry so often, and now you vent that anger.
You've got to go on about business, and I think the Flyers will do exactly that tonight. The game may start slowly, but I think it'll build in momentum as the game progresses. But also, you have to look at the other team that's coming in here tonight, the Edmonton Oilers, the Stanley Cup defending champions. It's also tough on them to come in here and play in front of, you know, a Philadelphia crowd, a Philadelphia team, after losing such a respected player from their lineup, you know, as recent as Sunday morning. So I think that Edmonton is very kind of maybe not cautious, but maybe very aware of the situation here in the Spectrum tonight. And I think once the game's underway, maybe a couple of shifts, you know, when each player gets out there for a little while, they'll take their mind, you know, to business, and that's the...
But because of the events of this past week, the night has become a deeper, sadder, and more personal occasion as the Flyers family, the team, the members of the organization and its fans gathered to mourn the loss of one of its own. It will be the Oilers and Flyers later. But first, we ask you to share in a memorial ceremony for Pelle Lindbergh, next on Prism.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bobby Taylor. It's been a difficult and trying last few days, not only for the players and the people that are associated with the Flyers, but I'm sure with you fans as well. Tonight, we'll pay tribute to a young man who touched us all and left a part of himself with everyone that he met, Pelle Lindbergh. With me is Flyers coach Mike Keenan. Michael,
once the game starts, I think the players will feel relief. They've got their mind on what they have to do out there, and I think you'll find that they're professionals. They'll do it.
Edmonton are wearing black armbands on their left arm. The Flyers have a small number 31 on their left shoulder, which you'll be able to see throughout this game.
You know what I liked here in the Philadelphia area with this tragedy with Pelle Lindbergh is that the way the people, the fans, you know, hockey fans, and just people in general in the street, the way they've responded as far as, you know, respect for Pelle Lindbergh. They feel the hurt, you know, maybe a little bit of the anger that some people feel that Pelle at such a young age, such a great athlete, was taken. But also, I've got to give credit to the other sports teams in the league, hockey, as well as, you know, different sports teams here in the city. An awful lot of their star players and the different teams here in the city, you know, responded with various statements. And I think that I think an athlete, doesn't matter what sport it's in, I think you've got some kind of a common bond. And I think through the tragedy with Pelle Lindbergh, that was shown here by all our professional sports teams here in Philadelphia.
It carried over throughout the hockey world as well. Mike Emmerich told me that they're doing the game at Madison Square Garden on Monday evening, and that is probably one of the toughest buildings in all of sport to play and to gain the affection of the fans. And you knew that they were going to have a minute of silence for Pelle before the game, and they were very apprehensive because they did not know how the crowd would react, and especially it being a Flyer. And they asked for this silence, and he said it was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. And then after it was over, they all gave a thunderous applause in respect for that young man. So it just illustrates the great impact that he had, not only in this city and the Delaware Valley, but throughout North America and as well as Europe, definitely as well as Europe. The Flyer players are now coming on the ice, as well as Edmonton. And they'll be lining up at their respective blue lines.
Okay, there's an awful lot of nervous stomachs out there right now with both teams skating to the blue lines, awaiting the start of the ceremonies.
It's awkward. It's so awkward. And I'm sure everybody knows that. It's no different for a player as it is for an ordinary person when they suffer loss in a tragedy such as this. You never know what to say. You never know if it's the right thing, or you never know what to do. You're never sure if that's the right thing. And let's now go down to our partner, Gene Hart.
Work. And so the work began. The Swedish national team, the Olympics, the Maine Mariners, and then fate magically intervening, he was drafted by Philadelphia. And it took 3 years and a superb relationship between the old legend Bernie and the new one Pelle. And I think a marvelous part of the story that in the finest tradition of the melting pot of this country, when you think about it, last year this Swede with a fellow countryman, a Czech, a Finn, American, and Canadian, had a spectacular year. And that team drove him to the top of the mountain, culminating last spring in Canada, when his idol presented him with the highest achievement that they could give him, the Vezina Trophy, and finally his name was there. And so that far-fetched 100,000 to 1 dream that began so long ago, so many thousands of miles away, came true. He was the best. And when you add to that, he was admired on 2 continents. He was honored in his homeland, and he was loved in Philadelphia. And you put together his marvelous personality and the manner that endeared him to everyone with whom he came in touch. And you add to that he was able to share all of this with a fiancée who made his every day a joy. And I might add, a young lady whose courage and strength this past week has been magnificent. And then you add to that the ultimate triumph that posthumously, through the mark of transplant, he has given life to 2 people this week. It is the fulfillment of a life far beyond what most or any of us in this building can expect or hope to achieve. But because of the events of this past week, the night has become a deeper, sadder, and more personal occasion as the Flyers family, the team, the members of the organization, and its fans gathered to mourn the loss of one of its own. It will be the Oilers and Flyers later. But first, we ask you to share in a memorial ceremony for Pelle Lindbergh, next on Prism.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bobby Taylor. It's been a difficult and trying last few days, not only for the players and the people that are associated with the Flyers, but I'm sure with you fans as well. Tonight, we'll pay tribute to a young man who touched us all and left a part of himself with everyone that he met, Pelle Lindbergh. With me is Flyers coach Mike Keenan. Michael...
Because of the blessing of kind circumstance, we were permitted to be part of this extraordinary person's life. And so we all in this building owe fate and the Gumper our eternal gratitude. And now another member of our Flyers family, Father John Casey.
Do we have to hold that out? You want to hold it for me? Dear merciful God in heaven, we need your blessing tonight. Oh, how we need your blessing. We've had a terrible few days since the tragic news of Sunday morning. We ask you to bless Pelle's mother and dad, his beloved Shastine, the wonderful Snyder family, the Tobins, the Scotts, the Allens, the Clarks, the Flyers staff, and all of you up there in the stands, the loyal, faithful Flyer fans, and finally, over here to the left, the Flyer players, with Captain Dave Poulin, Coach Mike, E.J., Paul, Pat, Bill, Bernie, Sudsy, Kurt, and all the gang. Oh God, you, in your infinite wisdom, know what this loss has meant to all of us. You know how hurt we are, how crushed, how desperate we are for your blessing. That's why we ask you tonight. You know too much, you know too how much the little Gumper, the friendly, smiling little Swede, meant to this hockey team. He was a real, honest-to-goodness liar, with all that that implies. He was proud to be a National Hockey League player, and prouder still to be a Flyer. He loved his Flyer sweater and the number 31. Do you wonder why we ask you to bless us tonight? As if this loss is not enough, the loss of Pelle, guess who are our guests tonight? Dear Lord, yes, the Edmonton Oilers, the Stanley Cup champions. We ask God to give us the strength to be worthy challengers to the reign of the Edmonton Oilers. So we conclude now with gratitude to the Oilers for helping us out on a very difficult evening and an impossible situation, and ask you, God, to bless them for their kindness. Almighty God, with your help tonight, we promise to carry on and make Pelle proud of us. You told us to love one another. You repeated that commandment many times. And you know better than any one of us how Pelle lived that command of yours. So give a special blessing now to the teammates of Pelle Lindbergh as they skate out on the ice tonight without the smiling, the loving, the gracious, fun-loving Gumper, and who carried such a wonderful report card to the throne of Almighty God. God bless you, Pelle, and pray for us.
Friends, I think you should know that the entire Lindbergh family is here tonight with his fiancée, Shastine, and they, along with the players and coaches and management of the Flyers, would like to thank each of you for your kind expressions of sympathy. Your support at this extraordinarily difficult time was so much appreciated. There was nobody more thrilled in all of hockey that a two-syllable chant in this building was changed from Bernie to Pelle. He said earlier in the week it was like losing a son, and I would think there would be no more appropriate spokesman now for this organization than Bernard Marcel Perrin.
Thank you, Gene. Mr. and Mrs. Lindbergh, Shastine, friends and fans of Pelle. As I stand before you tonight, I feel that our hearts are one. Every single one of us lost someone we respected, someone who made us very happy, and someone who made us awfully proud. Every single one of us lost a friend, a man who loved hockey, a man who loved his family, and a man who loved the fans. No single moment in my entire career has been as difficult as this one. For this one is filled with flashbacks of one of the most memorable and positive relationships the game of hockey could ever produce. Flashbacks of a young, boyish goalie from Sweden who relied on me to teach him how hockey in America is played. Flashbacks of how this same young, boyish goalie brought to my own life a sense of purpose and accomplishment. The paper said I was his hero. I wish I could tell you how much I admired him. I wish I could have only told him this. Told him how much I admired him, how much I cared about him. A goalie stands on a very lonely island, and I'm grateful that I was able to share some of that island with him, but for too brief a period. Pelle Lindbergh has become, without question, one of hockey's greatest goalies. And when death defeats greatness, we all mourn. And when death defeats youth, we mourn even more. But as we mourn, we must strive to define those qualities that Pelle left behind, that can give us strength throughout this period and beyond. I personally feel, and the team also feels, that Pelle Lindbergh left a legacy to all of us. Pelle Lindbergh had a sense of determination second to none. His spirit, his will, was made of iron. His ability to bounce back from defeat and setbacks will always be imprinted in my memory. His determination to become the best goalie in the National Hockey League was totally evident to all of us who knew him. And when he became the best, his superstar status did.
But because of the events of this past week, the night has become a deeper, sadder, and more personal occasion as the Flyers family, the team, the members of the organization and its fans gathered to mourn the loss of one of its own. It will be the Oilers and Flyers later. But first, we ask you to share in a memorial ceremony for Pelle Lindbergh, next on Prism.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bobby Taylor. It's been a difficult and trying last few days, not only for the players and the people that are associated with the Flyers, but I'm sure with you fans as well. Tonight, we'll pay tribute to a young man who touched us all and left a part of himself with everyone that he met, Pelle Lindbergh. With me is Flyers coach Mike Keenan. Michael...
And love for life helped him to overcome defeat. He could not defeat death. But in a way, he has. Pelle is already giving life to others. And what Mike Keenan has appropriately called the ultimate save. Pelle, you will always live in our hearts. Pelle, we miss you.
There is one journey left for Pelle to return to his beautiful Sweden, where a nation waits to greet its son. And that country in his last trip brought to my mind the last stanza of a familiar and haunting poem by Robert Frost. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. Indeed, he has miles to go before he sleeps, but on the journey, the affection of thousands of us and the love of those teammates will act as silent escorts, and will, we pray, make the Lindbergh's family peace and Pelle's sleep deep, enduring, and serene. Now, ladies and gentlemen, would you honor Pelle Lindbergh and his country as we present Hildegard Lindström singing the national anthem of Sweden.
you.
Thank you all.
Well, I went to those hockey schools all the time during the summer, and there was always some national team goalie there helping all the youngsters out. And I was at the hockey school for since I was 10 years old almost. I went there at least 6-7 years in a row, and every summer I learned something new from the big heroes over here, and I read different goaltenders tips and all kinds of stuff like that. And that was a really nice tournament for us. We were the only team. We didn't get beat by the U.S. We tied them 2-2, or they tied us 27 seconds to go in the first game, and we were really disappointed, but it ended up to be the only team that didn't get beat by them. And I had a lot of good memories from that Olympics. It was a lot of fun, and one of the best things was that the U.S. won against, that they beat the Russians. The bigger rinks over in Europe make the goal is to play more in the net, and over there you have to play around the net, you have to use the sticks more, and I wasn't used to that. And when they shoot the puck in around the net and everything is bouncing out in front of the net, and that's completely different compared to what I'm used to from Europe. At that time I was really disappointed, especially the first year that I was sent down. They never gave me a chance to play in the National League or anything, but they told me that it was just for a year or maybe a year and a half to get used to the American style of playing, or North American style. And they told me all the time that just do good here and learn the style, and learn to play around the net and everything, and then you're going to get a good chance to play in the National League. So I believed, and I worked really hard in the American League. Well, there was times when I was, really disappointed, and, a lot of bus rides and all this and that, and I was playing the national team in Sweden, and I asked myself, what am I doing over here in the minor leagues here, and I'm never going to get a chance. But somehow I said to myself, one day I'm going to play in that National League, and I always been like that. I'm always wanted to play in the National League, and I said I'm going to give it 3 years, and I'm going to try my hardest. First year, the first European goalie to ever make an all-star game, and then you come in there, and Gretzky made almost a fool of myself. I mean, he scored 4 goals in a couple of minutes. And so I played in Canada Cup 1981, and I thought it was really tough to start to play hockey in July, or even over here they started one training camp in June already. And after that Canada Cup, I had a terrible fall in hockey with the Flyers, and I was really tired of hockey already in October, November. Well, Bernie has been my coach, but he's also been one of my best friends since I came over to America, or to the Flyers. The first year in Maine, he came up, and it was not only hockey we talked about. He took me out for dinners, and we were sitting talking about everything, boating or fishing, and he was like a good friend over there. He was a guy I could talk to about everything or anything. I think it was the last game against Quebec in that series. I got hit by a puck, slap shot from the blue line right on the kneecap, and it was really sore that day and the next day, but then it almost went away. We had put a lot of ice and stuff on it, and so the first 2 games against Edmonton, it was sore, but not so bad as I couldn't play. But then in the 3rd game against Edmonton, up in Edmonton, I got hit on the same spot again with another puck, and then it wasn't the same after that.
If you look back over your hockey career, what would you rate as the biggest thrill?
No comparison, the final or the playoffs this year with the Flyers. That's the biggest thing I ever played, and that was the funniest time I ever had in hockey too, I think. Unbelievable feeling for me, especially for a Swedish guy or a European goaltender to win the Vezina Trophy. That's something you just dream about. On the other hand, I like it when kids come up and they want to talk hockey and they maybe want to have an autograph, because I remember not too long ago I was the same way. I like to talk to the national team goaltenders, and they were great when they wanted to sign one of my gloves or one of my sticks or something like that. So I remember that like it was yesterday. So it's a lot of fun when all the kids come up and they want to talk about National League or whatever. So I don't mind, really.
What are you shooting for now? What's your next major goal?
To win the Stanley Cup. That's that's the big thing. That's where the whole team, the organization is working for to win the cup. Something between stand-up and reflex, small little guys. If they ever remember me 20 years from now, probably going to be some new Swedish super goalie over in North America winning the Western Trophy at that time, so they don't even remember me. But maybe some old players remember me that I was the first European goalie to win the Western or something like that. I don't know. I don't think anybody will remember me 20 years from now.
That previous footage on Pelle Lindbergh, courtesy of Hockey Night in Canada. And with us now is the Hockey Night in Canada color analyst, Dave Richardson. And Dave, this has been a very tragic thing, not only here in the Delaware Valley, but I'm sure it's been throughout the hockey world. How's it affected the people back home in Canada?
Well, certainly the first reaction was shock. Sunday morning, and we got the news. Canadians are very attached to European hockey players because of the international exposure and because it's the #1 sport in Canada. There's no question about it, and when something like that happens, you almost take it personally, Bob. And the feeling, particularly with the young people, because of the exposure that Pelle got last year with the Stanley Cup playoffs in Edmonton, and I really don't think that they'll ever get over it for the season.
You had a personal experience as well Sunday night, you were telling me this morning.
Well, yeah, exactly. We have some youngsters. I'm assistant coach of a team back home, and the reaction by the young people, and we almost had to stop practicing and have a meeting and explain the situation, all from the cars, all from the drinking aspect of it, and how to put everything back in the right perspective. And I think it is something that will live in the memory of young people who are around at that particular time.
I know that Winnipeg has a couple of Swedish players, Thomas Steen in particular, and you're very close with the Winnipeg Jets because you cover them just the same way that Ed Van Impe and I cover here with the Flyers.
Well, Thomas tried to do an interview for television the other day, and he just couldn't get it done. He couldn't get it done. He said he grew up with Pelle. He was 12 years old. They've played pretty much all their hockey together, and he's a quiet-spoken individual anyway, Thomas, and they never did get it on. So you can see how it affects people right around the world. Thomas being one incident in Winnipeg, and when we go to Edmonton because of the closeness of the finals last year, I was in Calgary the time before, and Håkan Loob was there, that fine Swedish player. So his personality, not only his playing ability, the fact that he was a fine human being, I think that's the thing that they remember mostly and will always remember.
You played the game, and I know you had a similar situation when you were playing with Baltimore in the old American Hockey League.
Well, we were practicing on November the 22nd, 63 in Washington, the day President Kennedy was shot, and of course the entire nation was numb from the whole thing. It was like time kind of standing still. But the amazing part was that we played a couple nights later, and as professionals and with the fans, everyone seems to bind together when things get tough. Everyone seems to react with the right way. They take their emotions and they channel it right back into the game, and I think that's what's going to happen tonight.
That's one I think a lot of people are concerned about, how the players are going to react. How will they perform? Not only the Flyers, but the Edmonton Oilers as well, because I know they're very affected by what has happened.
Well, there's no question about it. Bob McCammon has a close touch right here with this hockey club. They met last year in the playoffs. But I think the fans, and I think the quality of the individual that Pelle was, and the emotion that both these teams will have, once they get on that ice, I think there will be somewhat of a relief, and I think they will have that feeling of almost like a big rock taken off their shoulders, and I think when they have to, the natural instinct and reaction to the game will take over.
This is a thing where it happens most of the cases in the off-season where you can adjust a little easier. This is during the season, is to a young player on the rise, or if not, almost at the pinnacle of his career. That makes it harder, do you think?
Oh, there's no question about it. I think any other situations that have come to mind in hockey, in my case, maybe Tim Horton was the only other one I think that was very close to the season. Some other youngsters in the off-season. Thurman Munson is the only other athlete that I can remember right in the middle of the season. And I think that's why it'll be with us all year, Bob. I think that's why it'll stay here, because of the high profile that this hockey team has, that this particular individual has. And I don't think it's something that you can just blot out. But I think that the game itself and the quality of people involved in the game will push it back and go on.
Best that it is the two best teams right now.
No question about it. I think that that's, if there is a positive and a bright side to it all, is that two quality teams are going to play after the aftermath.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you, Bob.
We'll be right back. We're back here with the Flyers Vice President, Keith Allen. Keith, this is the second time we've had to deal with a death in the Flyer family, in a sense. Barry Ashby, of course, the first one. But this one, I think, is somewhat different than that with Barry.
Yes, it is. Of course, this was sudden and unexpected. In Barry's case, he had leukemia, and we all knew it was going to be a struggle if he made it. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, but it was a month, I think, from the time he learned that he had the disease till he died. And I think the Flyer family and his players became accustomed to the fact that he may not make it, and so it wasn't as big a shock when he died as it was with Pelle.
One of the things, you have to pick up the pieces, and that's always the toughest part. How hard is it for management when you have to really start getting back to reality in a sense and think of the team and think of the future?
Well, of course, losing both of these individuals put a big hole in our lineups, and losing Pelle in the start of a season like we have makes it almost impossible to replace him. He was the first All-Star. He was recognized as the best goalie in hockey right now, and you just don't find those fellows very easily. And as you're aware, we're playing Darren Jensen tonight, a young fellow that we think has good promise. He certainly played well in Hershey this year, and we've all scouted him quite a bit, and he's done extremely well. And we had planned on bringing him up later in the season to look at him, and certainly I think he deserves a chance. Unfortunately, this is rather a difficult time for him to come in and attempt to do a good job. But I'm confident he will, because he's a game little guy, and I think he'll do well.
Everybody around the National League, of course, is always saddened. It's, I wouldn't say amazing, but it's always comforting to know that even though you have differences and you're always trying to do better than the other guy, that when something like this happens, they always rally to your side.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think that it shocked the whole hockey community and the whole sports world, in fact. And especially when you get a player of Pelle's stature that is killed, it's really a shock. And I think that Bob has probably heard from everybody in sports right now. I know that the switchboard has been constantly filled with telephone calls, not only from other sports people, but also from fans in this area.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Keith Allen. We'll be back right after this. They have just finished flooding the ice. The Zamboni just making the final pass around the rink before we start the game itself. You get the Edmonton Oilers and the Philadelphia Flyers, and I understand, Eddie, that the teams wanted to have the ice flooded after the ceremony so that they can regain their composure and try and settle their nerves and also their feelings.
I can understand that, and I can appreciate that, Bobby, but by the same token, it's been a long time since they had their warm-up, you know, before they get back out there right again here and get going at it when the game starts. But I'm looking forward to the game this evening, and the reason why I say that is because, you know, these guys are professionals on both teams, and I'm sure they're going to go out there and they're going to, you know, give 100%, and we'll have a very, very entertaining hockey game and a very, very difficult evening.
As you can expect, all the signs that are hung around the spectrum are for Pelle Lindbergh. I think the fans are a little bit apprehensive as well. They're not sure how to react. And as we talked about it, you and I, and of course Dave Richardson, and saying that as the game progresses, I think that everything will come out. You can't say get back to normal, but it would at least
Well, we're talking about the fans, Bob. You're talking about the fans and the players and everything else. And I think there's one thing we haven't really mentioned that maybe might be worthwhile mentioning. You being an ex-goaltender, is Darren Jensen called up from Hershey. He is on the hot seat.
It's incredible. A young man, his first National League start was in the Island against the New York Islanders, which was not successful. And now his first start at home in the Spectrum happens to be through a series of events tonight. And it's a very, very difficult situation for a young man to be thrust into. When everybody came through the turnstiles tonight, they handed out a small card about the size of a hockey card or a baseball card with Pelle's picture on the front and then on the back. Very simply stated, in loving memory of Pelle Lindbergh, our goalie, our friend. And 31, the sweater number that Lindbergh wore, and that will, I'm sure, will be retired here at the Spectrum, and nobody else will wear that jersey.
Well, we should just be moments away from the start of the game as the Zamboni has left the ice surface and the attendants are heading to the Zamboni exit. So I'm sure shortly the respective teams will return to the ice as the officials are just coming back on now. So we'll be underway here momentarily.
Again, we point out, and you'll have a chance to see it throughout the game, and of course, those of you who are Prism, but Edmonton wearing that the dark, or the black armband rather, and the Flyers will have that 31 over the left shoulder.
Well, we welcome you back to the Spectrum. Flyers hold a lifetime advantage over Oilers. They've won 13, lost 5, and tied 2. And they have an extraordinary edge here. They've won 8 out of the 10 games played during the regular season. The only 2 games the Oilers won, a 5-3 game in which Gretzky had 4 goals, and a 4-3 game in which he had 3. And the oddity, Eddie and Bobby, that in the 6 years coming into this year of play between the two, there have only been 3 hat tricks. Gretzky a 3-goal game, a 4-goal game, and a 5-goal game. And obviously there have been no shutouts. But I would think you can get a lot of lip service. But what in the world does this club have to get up for? They're going to win their division from here to next year. They are outstanding. There are very few challenges in the league. I wonder how Glenn Sada gets them up. The only thing they seem to play for is their numbers.
Well, I think every time they go out there with the intent to win every game, and I think that maybe that's what Sather says, that you can always improve in what you did last year.
You know, personal pride has a lot to do with it. When you are the best in the world, you've got to prove it all the time, and I think that the motivation comes from within. That's why they're considered the best hockey team in the world now. It's because they are the type of individuals that want to prove it to themselves time and time again. And this is a club that makes changes. They don't stand pat. They've had a couple of new players to their lineup this season alone.
Melnick and Keenan and McTavish is off to a good start.
Keenan. So you have 4 players right there. Although Keenan not playing tonight, but there's 4 players right now on a Stanley Cup champion team, and that usually isn't done.
But what's wonderful, when you have 5 super players and a goaltender, all you have to do is add competency in a lot of filled positions. And McTavish is not going to star, nor is a McClellan going to star, or a Napier with another team. But they're such tremendous shock troops for this club.
They're going to... Those great players make the other ones even better. The officials tonight, Don Koharski will be the referee. Having the lines will be Jerry Gauthier and Gordy Brotziker.
Playing in the net for the Edmonton Oilers will be Andy Moog with a 3.23 goals against average, 5 wins, 3 losses, and a tie. In the net for the Flyers, Darren Jensen. who's been recently called up from Hershey. His record in Hershey was a 2.99 goals against average, 8 wins and 1 loss. And now the voice of the Flyers, Gene Hart.
All right, my friends, I think the best thing to say now is let's get on with it and play hockey. Oilers will defend to the left. I'm sure you've mentioned Grand Pure out with an injury. Ron Lowe, the backup. And the backup for the Flyers on the bench from the International League, Mike Blosky. Right, Philadelphia will go with Kerr, Poland, along with Howe and McCrimmon. And back for the Oilers, Huddy and Coffey, who've been a regular defensive pairing for 3 years. And up front, an incomparable duo of Curry, along with Wayne Gretzky. And sharing the spot on the other wing is Mike Krushelnyski. Bob McCammon, former Flyer general manager and coach, who coached Pelle Lindbergh at Maine and here, is directly below us now as assistant coach and relaying strategy to the Oiler bench to John Muckler, who's the assistant to Glenn Sather. All right, now we understand we have a real point of contention. There is no bench for Glenn Sather upon which to stand behind the Oiler bench, which means he has to peek over helmets. The 31 on the top left shoulder of each of the Flyers, of course, contributes to Pelle Lindbergh.
I think the simple solution is a pair of stilts.
Send one of the trainers down and Glenn can sit on his shoulders. As a player, give me a thumbnail sketch of your reaction when you played against Glenn Sather.
Glenn Sather to me was a real competitor. He wasn't an outstanding hockey player. He was more of a role player. But whenever he played, and he gave you 100%. He really went out there and did everything he could to help his team win. I think he's probably noted as a penalty killer, and he stuck his nose in there. He played an aggressive game, or maybe he instigated a lot of things. Got a lot of things going, but he's turned out to be a great coach and general manager. The black armband on the left arm of the Edmonton Oilers, Captain Wayne Gretzky. You've got a chance to look at it there.
I might be correct. Am I right, Bobby, that the rules say that whatever bench you have on the home bench, you have to equalize on the visitor?
I think so, Gene, but you know, the league has always been amendments to certain rules that are in the penalty box.
Well, the last time
in the rule book.
The last time Sather was here, he didn't like the ice.
Not too many people do.
No. All right, play is underway, and the Flyers control working to the right side. McCrimmon at the line penetrates against Coffey. A wraparound that Moog sets up for Huddy. Huddy is stripped of the puck, but it kicks off and played right up the middle to Gretzky via Curry from Krushelnyski. Up for grabs at center ice. The Flyers poke it free, and here comes Poulin up the middle. Checked by Curry. Tries to drop to Timmy Kerr. Stripped of the puck, and around Coffey wheels on his own right wing side. And the Oilers get it back to Coffey and up through on the right wing at center ice to Gretzky. Gretzky tries to headman Curry, tied up nicely by the forechecking of Poulin. Not penetrate, can't run through Huddy. The Flyers chase deep in the left wing corner where Howe overskates, and the puck is picked up on the near side and shoveled up by Huddy to Coffey. Coffey takes a bump from Poulin, but maintains position and then dumps it to center ice. Covered by Prop, knocked down at the Oiler line by Coffey, and Krushelnyski wheels the left wing through Gretzky around behind the Philadelphia net. Touched up, and they call an icing on the Oilers after 55 seconds of scoreless play.
That puck just bounced right over his stick, not touching it, therefore it's the icing call. Fjord, Randy Gregg, Don Jackson, Esa Tikkanen, Marty McSorley out. The first three out with injuries. Tikkanen rather, and McSorley, I think, just to the numbers. Flyers without Lindsey Carson and Bob Froze. Froze injured. Carson, I believe, just the extra man out tonight.
Philadelphia with Rich and Ron Sutter, Rick Tocchet along with Marsh and Crossman. Melnick on the defense for the Oilers with Steve Smith. No relation, not to Steve Smith the Flyers have in the organization. And up front, we have the offensive right circle faceoff lost by Philadelphia's Ron Sutter. Behind the net, Steve Smith wraps it up to Craig McTavish on the left side, coming along with Messier and Anderson. They jammed up at center, pivoting into off. Tocchet, as he was bumped by McTavish, took a poke at Tocchet, or as McTavish, and play was allowed to continue as that was overlooked. Up at center ice, pair of giant wings for the Oilers. Anderson and Messier, both individual tremendous caliber. Moog with a clearing pass behind his net, wheels it out to the point. It comes to center ice. Crosman has it there. Wheels off to the near side. Marsh lost it up the middle, and it's cleared away nicely by the Flyers away from the on-charging Oiler, Suminen. Puck dumped in, and Darren Jensen steers off to his right. Ramo Suminen, another of the Finns, to join Jari Kurri. Puck cleared in the near side. Rich Sutter is run over by Kevin McClellan, former Pittsburgh Penguin, and the Flyers dump to center ice. Bobby, was McClellan traded for, am I right, Tom Ralston?
Right.
Center iceman who went to Pittsburgh and has since
He's in their Baltimore farm team now, Gene.
McClellan at the Flyer line. It dumped up ice and hit puck Derek Smith. Against Fogelin up the middle, it drives wide and high of the net. As the Flyers got the first legitimate pop. There's a dump on the net. Oh, and moved. With Fogelin right in there trying to deflect home. Not only blocked, but covered the puck. 2:11 gone. Scoreless first period, and we have a break in the action.
That was a big play by goaltender Andy Mogas. Poulin was right on the doorstep. And the shot was taken. And the save was made. Just the first shot was just wide of the net. The Flyers were able to regain control of the puck again and get the second opportunity. Quick shot, but Gould made the save, hung on to that rebound into his pads as Davey Poulin was right on the doorstep looking for that loose puck or that rebound, and it was just a good play by the Edmonton Oilers goaltender with Poulin on the doorstep.
Zezel and Prop along with Hospodar and Howe. The face-off taken by Messier. Fogelin on with Kevin Lowe. And Lumley along with Messier. And puck jumped back and cleared away from McClellan. Zezel lost his stick. Gets run over by McClellan. Tries to cover in the offensive right corner with some beautiful footwork. Gets some help from Timmy Kerr. In there for the Oilers. Kevin Lowe to make it an evenly divided foursome. We get a stoppage of play.
Peter Zezel, another good start this year. One thing, for the first time tonight, he's been teamed with Prop and Kerr. I don't recall even all of last year him being paired with those two wingers. If at any time, it may have only been in one or two shifts.
If you remember, year before last, Lumley was acquired in that availability draft at the beginning of the season by Hartford, and then midway through the season went back to Edmonton. Puck back to the point. Cut shot by Hospodar right on. And boy, that's a one in the middle. And Gamble a one-time run, a bouncing puck, and he got it on net. Messier up the middle. He can fly. Works down that left side. Gets past his check Prop. Wheels at the left point. Tries to dump it in. He's got a man in front. A double shot. And Jensen was right there to keep it away on that opportunity play by the Oilers. Individual super effort by. There's a play in front. And it's off the body of McClellan wide of the net. Beautiful individual effort by Mark Messier, and now as the Flyers come up, we got our first challenge, and we got some punches thrown by Hospodar at McClellan, who has done some turtling, and let's see if there's one or two penalties on this, but Hospodar is sure to go at 2:52.
Well, I'll tell you, the Edmonton Oilers were very aggressive in their play here in the first period.
2:52 gone, Flyer penalty coming up. There's a break in the action.
Hospodar is the only player apparently that's heading in towards the penalty bench. He's already on the Flyers penalty bench, so he will definitely be picking up a penalty. Ed Hospodar picked up a 2-minute minor for roughing. Time that penalty is 2 minutes and 52 seconds of the first period, so Edmonton will have the first power play opportunity of the game. Hospodar, 2 minutes for roughing.
The Oilers are 16 for 51. Oilers hitting about one of every three opportunities they get. The Flyers have given up 13 and 73 short. That's less than one every five. Their percentage is very good. Last year in the three regular season games, the Oilers 4 for 11 on the power play. You can expect that usual unit out there. Gretzky, Anderson, Messier, along with Coffey and Huddy. Goes back to the point. Coffey right side to Huddy. Shot. Short side off the skate of Darren Jensen. They battle offensive right corner. Philadelphia has Prop out there with Poulin. And defensively, Crossman with Mark Howe. Puck back into the Edmonton zone. We've played 3 minutes and change, and up the middle of the ice comes Wayne Gretzky over the line against Howe. Up the middle, headmanning a pass off the left corner board from Messier. He's tied up in there, fights off the check of Poulin, straight back to the point, and it's cleared near side where Huddy fans. The puck rolls to Howe, and Howe will come out along with Prop. Howe is taken down at center ice. In goes Prop, and a shot. Rebound, kicks past Poulin. He turns around. Mark Howe is pulled down at center ice as the Flyers control the puck and then ice it. But the Oilers got a break there as they continue on the power play with 1:14 left. And up on that left side, Posthumous out there now with Anderson, Coffey, Gretzky, and Huddy. Puck taken in the Flyers' defensive right corner, and Mars sends it off Coffey straight back to the Edmonton line. Right winging to Huddy. Huddy avoids the check, but loses the puck as Sinisalo broke up the rhythm of that play. And Ron Sutter, the other forechecker, throws it down the ice. The Flyer defenseman, they have Mars on the near side with a drive. And Moog with no screen got that, and then boom! A check in the corner by Coffey against Ron Sutter. As the Oilers get it up the middle of the ice, through on the near side. They play to Yari Curry, block, and Ron Sutter. Off the block, so Brad McCrimmon sends it down with 30 seconds remaining on the power play. The Oilers opened up an Eastern road trip Tuesday with a 5-2 loss at Washington. They play up the middle. Krushenitsky is shot. And Judson got that off the right pad. The rebound in the corner to his left. And the Flyers ice it. And in that game on Tuesday, Washington embarrassed Edmonton with 3 shorthanded goals. The crowd souped up now. And that's the tremendous support that they can give the Flyers this evening. Craig McTavish out there, and that should do it with 5 seconds on the power play. Stripped in his own right wing corner by Zezel to take him hard into the boards. Then he fights Zezel off, knocks him down, and McTavish is going off as the Flyers try to work it in front. Penalty, Craig McTavish. Flyer power play coming up. Kuharski is going to get McTavish a 2-minute minor for holding. As Flyers are very aggressively forechecking, trying to gain possession of the puck and to keep Edmonton bottled up in their own zone. You do not want to have that power play set up in your zone. They are number 1 in the league at this point. So with the aggressive forechecking, the Flyers forced Edmonton into a penalty situation. So now Philadelphia will have a power play. McTavish holding. Time of that call, 4:58. Flyer power play 18 for 72. That's exactly 1 every 4 times they have an opportunity, or 25%. The Oilers have given up only 12 and 76 short. That's better than 1 and 6. Puck back to the point. Prop shot is blocked, but Sinisalo back to Prop. His shot blocked to the right side by Messier, who's on with Hunter, Lowe, and Fogelin. Flyers try to go offensive right corner. Zezel is challenged, goes back to Prop. Prop to Howe. Howe with a left circle drive. And that hits the body in front of Sinisalo. Ricochets out, and there's a break for Hunter down that left wing side against Howe. Shot, short side, and Princeton kicked that one away. As the Oilers, who have given up 4 short-handed goals, but have scored 6, and last year set a league record with 35. Up ice, Howe over the line. His pass is blocked. Into the zone, offside delayed, as the play was nicely thwarted by Kevin Lowe.
Well, Kevin Lowe was able to stand up the blue line that time when Mark Howe anticipated the play and tried to pass it through him. He put his stick down on the ice and intercepted the pass. As a result, the Flyers were offside, and the faceoff will be taken outside the Edmonton Oilers zone with 1 minute and 23 seconds remaining on the power play opportunity for the Flyers.
Kerr, along with Montreal's Martin Oswald, leads the National Hockey League in power play goals with 7. Len Anderson, the Oilers, has 5, along with Quebec's Michel Goulet. Flyers with Zezel, Kerr, Sinisalo, McCrimmon, and Howe, and the Oilers take the puck at their own line and ice it. Low on with Fogelin, and up front they have Curry, along with Gretzky. Flyers work up the middle of the ice. McCrimmon coming, gets a screen from Kerr. Nowhere to go, tries to wrap around behind the Oiler net. Lowe is there, cut off. Kerr off the near board to the left point to McCrimmon. Looking for his first goal shot. Rebound taken by Sinisalo. Tried to shovel it past Lee Fogelin, who drops it off to Curry, and up on the left side, Gretzky, an 80-footer from center ice. Skips and bounces wide of the Philadelphia goal. As the Flyers on the near side tip it past the forechecking of Curry and get it up from Eklund at center ice to Prop and back to Eklund, who charged into the zone. Right-winging a pass and a nice poke check by Paul Coffey. Drops it to center ice with 35 seconds on the power play. The Flyers are wraparound. Near side Curry tries to deal it out. Kept in by Crosman. Point shot. Wide of the long side to the Flyer offensive right side to Prop. Shovels it past Coffey. He takes the puck away. Clears it off the glass in the near corner and into the seats for the stoppage of play. With 6:36 gone, scoreless first period. 22 seconds remaining on Edmonton. Craig McTavish's holding call.
Coffey winning the Norris Trophy last year, and the Oilers you'd keep thinking of just a high-powered offense, which they are, but they also play pretty sound defense. They're 5th in the league in killing penalties to go along with that #1 ranking on their power play, and that stat that you gave, Gene, about their ability to score shorthanded goals. And you know, they score goals better shorthanded than half the teams do with the power play.
You know, when you think about it, they've given up 12 power play, but they've scored 6 shorthanded, so they're really only a -6. Now the Oilers over the line. Messier, who can whip, drives it right on, and Jensen covers it in the pad, shovels it around behind the net to Crosman. He's chased by the forechecking Gretzky as the Flyers get it to Eklund and through at center ice. Prop over the line to Thomas Eriksson. Into the near corner, a wrap around behind Moog. Sets it up for his defenseman, Charlie Huddy. Huddy forecheck. Prop takes it away. Bangs it off the backside of the net as the penalty is over and the team's at full strength. Up ice, Coffey along with Messier and Gretzky. There goes Craig McTavish up the middle. Flyers break up the play in the slot between the circles. And back comes Murray Craven along with Prop on his right. 2-on-4. Craven at the Oiler line. Flips in behind the Oiler net. Where Edmonton's Huddy flies up along the near side. Tries to get past Ron Sutter. Sutter blocks the pass, but then Huddy gets help from Messier and the Oilers shoot it to center ice. 7.5 gone. McCrimmon penetrates into Ron Sutter at the point, puts it toward the net, and they're going to have a penalty against Philadelphia's pocket for burying Huddy. There goes Anderson down that left wing side, around behind the net. Short side shot, rebound! And Jensen was super on both, but now we get the call. It'll be an elbow against Rick Tocchet at 7:44. Oilers power play coming up. There's a break in the action.
Boy, I'll tell you, we had a chance to look at this thing again, but we could hear the thump from that body check right up here in our announce position. But Tocchet really leveled Huddy with a good, solid body check. And elbowing was called, but boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what. Huddy wasn't watching where he was going. He just got run right over by Tocchet. And an elbowing penalty has been called, so the Edmonton Oilers will have their second power play opportunity. But when you're coming up that slot area, you got to watch where you're going, or someone's going to run right over top of you. And that's exactly what Rick Tocchet did.
We have an interesting note. During the Edmonton power play, they were outshot 2-1, and on the Flyers power play, they were outshot 2-0. Boston 2-0 in the second period at Toronto, leading as the Maple Leafs are attempting to break the longest winless string in their long, illustrious history that is stretched to 12. Coffey out with Steve Smith at the point. Gretzky up front with Curry on the left, Glenn Anderson on the right. The Flyers go with Poulin, Prop, McCrimmon, and Howe. Defensive left circle face-off, Philadelphia. Gordy Brossiker, one linesman, will handle the drop with Yuri Gauthier, the veteran, the other. Referee Koharski. Flyers get it. Poulin the prop. Prop back to Poulin, one-on-one with Coffey. Over the line, down that right side, and Coffey pulls down Poulin as play continues and the Oilers work out of their own right side. Curry almost had it deflected in front to Prop, but Steve Smith takes it behind. Drops back to the rear left side for Coffey. Will storm up on the right wing to Curry at center ice. Up the middle, trying to get some help from Glenn Anderson. Puck pops up in the air, and we have a delay offside called against Edmonton. Well, I'll tell you, there's no team like this one, except maybe the old Canadians of the 50s, whose eyeballs light up when they start moving on offense.
I know you're referring to Edmonton. They do. They love to carry that puck. They do it better than anybody in the league. You'd have to look at it better than anybody in this game of hockey. I can take that into the Europeans as well. Poulin tried a pretty good opportunity to get around the outside of Coffey. Coffey took him out extremely well. You just take that man, never worry about the puck, and when you're off to that angle, it's the goaltender's worry anyway.
Ron Sutter, Sinisalo with Howe and McCrimmon face off just outside the Flyer line. Controlled nicely by Philadelphia and slapped all the way down by McCrimmon. Went right in on Moog. Steve Smith out with Coffey, which speaks a lot for Smith. And the Flyers seal it off. Howe with a shot. And that hit Anderson in front. And then Ron Sutter was decked by Steve Smith. Flyers shoot it in and catch Ron Sutter offside. And the fans are unhappy so far.
I think you're going to expect that throughout this contest. Not only because it's the home team, but also the added significance of this game tonight. But they're going to be crawling or trying for everything right now.
Gretzky, Messier, who wears the number 11, and Krushelnyski, the big winger on the left side, who can play center as well. Played for Kenny Lintzman at the beginning of last season. Coffey moving to the left side, Steve Smith to the right. Flyers go still Prop and Poulin with McCrimmon and Howe. Face off at the center ice red line along the Flyers right wing side. Taken by the Oilers in deep. Smith from Coffey gets it up through to Gretzky. Gretzky rolls it up the middle, trying to find Messier. Over the line, Krushelnyski's got McCrimmon turned. Short side shot, and off the save, and it was poked away nicely by Philadelphia. As Jensen has stood tall so far. The Flyers working down that left wing side. They got a break for Howe. Up the middle. There's a shot deflected nicely by the back-checking Coffey. And here comes Messier up on that left wing side. It's tied up beautifully by Poulin, who gets some help from linesman Jerry Gauthier, who blocks the puck. Now the Flyers then, as they have the play at the Edmonton line, shoot it all the way back into their zone to Howe. Howe a wraparound along the right wing boards, and it's scooped by Poulin the center ice. Bounces to Prop. Tries to go back to Poulin, and the Flyers control and go around the horn again. Howe along the near side. Oh, he gives it away at center to Huddy, but Huddy can't control, and the Flyers shovel through on the near side. And Poulin is dragged down by Craig McTavish as the Flyers pocket at 15 seconds on the penalty. Coffey, better than anyone else, going end-to-end. Works along the near side to McTavish. Puck dropped back at the point. And the Flyers work out, and now we're going to get a penalty against Huddy for taking down Ilka Sinisalo. At 9:37, the penalty's even at 2. No score in the game. There's a break in the action.
Interference will be the call on Charlie Huddy as he tried to slow down Ilka Sinisalo so the Flyers wouldn't get a break. He was caught deep in his own zone, and the Flyers picked up that puck. He took him out too well. Interference is the call. It'll come, as Gene mentioned, 9:27 or 37 rather of this opening period. So we've played just, well, I haven't even completely played the first half of this opening period, and each team has had 2 power play opportunities.
Penalties even at 2. Huddy with 12 minutes on the air. We may have not given you Rick Cockett's total time. It's now at 43. He'll be out in 7 seconds, and the Flyers will be on their second power play. So the teams have traded alternately a pair of power plays each. We have no score. The shot 6-4 for Edmonton. Now there is the play by the Oilers as they had Kevin Lowe out with Fogelin. And up front, Hunter along with Messier, and the Flyers on the power play. Sinisalo up through to Kerr, and he had a 2-on-1 overload on the right side with Zezel, but couldn't handle a bouncing puck from the Oilers. Messier drills the center ice. Now Crosman penetrates along the near side. In against Fogelin. Through the goal now. Tipped away from Sinisalo to the right point to Thomas Eriksson. In around behind the Oiler net. Bull cuts off Zezel. Pucks it up on the far side. The Oilers take it away, and they've got a 2-on-1. Fogelin along with Hunter with just Crosman back. There's Fogelin in, and his shot is blocked away from the net by Philadelphia's Doug Crosman, beautifully covering up. Crosman now brings the puck up through in the center ice for Sinisalo. Rink-wide pass, tipped away from Kerr and played nicely by Kevin Lowe down the ice as he had made the play coming off his knees.
I think what makes, Gene, these two teams very strong in penalty killing is that the defense move up so well when they do have an opportunity to go offensive.
Kerr, now they've got a turn. Kerr's going to go right on in, and he shot over the top of the net as the puck rolled at the last second. Now down that left wing side, Gretzky is slowed down and pulled off the puck by Philadelphia's McCrimmon, and I'm sure the Edmonton fans who's out at that one. Puck up the middle, but you can't handle one in the air. Now the Flyers have a 3-on-1, but offside is Eklund, as he initially penetrated on the first flow of the puck.
They're calling it a 2-line pass. It initiated from just inside the Flyers zone from Mark Howe, and they're able to pick it up on the other side of the red line. But a big play on the part of Philadelphia, and again a shorthanded situation for Edmonton on a 2-on-1. Fogelin the trigger man, but Crossman paid it perfectly, Eddie, and that's what you would call textbook 2-on-1.
It is. He stayed right in between them, forced the play to the outside. When the shot was taken, he was close enough to get his stick out there and deflect the puck away from Fogelin.
Right, Philadelphia goes Zezel, Prop, Craven, along with McCrimmon and Howe against Gretzky, Curry, Fogelin, and Kevin Lowe. Face off just inside the Philadelphia line along their left wing. They control. Howe retreats away from the forechecking Gretzky. Up too far for Craven at center ice. All the way in on Moog. Will play out to center ice along the right wing. Gretzky tries to headman Fogelin. Flyers, Kelly Eklund picks that one off. Gets it to Murray Craven. To McCrimmon as the Flyers' offense has been pretty well held under check here. Now down that right side. Craven will penetrate against Lowe. Tries to get by, but Lowe squeezes him off the board. Then Fogelin takes out Prop behind the Edmonton net. Craven is knocked down. The puck bangs off the side of the Edmonton net. It is control there. And with just 6 seconds remaining on the Huddy penalty, the Flyers have now gone 2 power plays without a shot on net.
That shot total 6-4 in favor of Edmonton at this point.
Darren Jensen's faced a couple of tough shots, as has Moog, but Jensen's impressed me. He stepped in a very difficult position, Bobby, and so far he's done the job for him.
made 2 real big saves, especially that one in the scramble in front of the net.
You know, we've been talking about the events of this week as it returns to Philadelphia, but we overlooked one of the common things, to be off 5 days. They haven't played since Saturday, and that, under the best of circumstances, is not an enviable situation. Derek Smith, along with Pullen and Dave Brown, seeing his first action defensively. Philadelphia goes Hospodar with Howe, and the Oilers have Lowe with Fogelin and Gretzky on with Messier, but they have to be careful as Huddy will be out in just 6 ticks of the clock. 8:29 remaining in a scoreless first period. Lowe wheels around, picked off, Pullen in front. Oh, and it was right there for Derek Smith, deflected away, tipped in on the net. And a nice save by Moog as Derek Smith got that second opportunity. The Oilers try to wheel out of their own left wing corner. It's pumped and deflected by Derek Smith. To the corner to Prop. Shot short side. Grab and hold by Andy Moog off the shot by Dave Pullen.
I've often been amazed that players don't try that bad angle shot during a melee as often as they do. Smith got the good shot away. Good effort in front of the net, too, but deflection. And Andy Moog has had to be quick on a number of occasions because the deflections have been so close to them going in. But the shot I'm talking about is Dave Pullen. He's at the bottom of the circle. A lot of times goaltenders will think that he will not shoot or that forward will not shoot from that position. So they'll start itching towards the middle of the net, hoping that that pass will come out. And you can catch a goaltender flat-footed sometimes.
Flyers in 2 full power plays, less 7 seconds, had no shots on goal. Craig Nienhuis is 8th and 9th, and Dave Reed's 3rd. Boston leading Toronto in Maple Leaf Gardens, second period, 3-0. Play is up at center ice. Gretzky for Curry. Flyers have the man back. Philadelphia picks it off and dumps in deep. Brown, Derek Smith, and Pullen along with McCrimmon and Howe. The Oilers to the near side. Gretzky is beaten to the puck, but Huddy isn't. It fires to center ice. Howe cuts it off as Gretzky was 2 steps ahead of anyone in the neutral zone. Flyers break up the play. Now they feed through, and that'll be an icing. If Howe beats Curry to it behind the Oiler net, but they wave it off. Jensen around the near side. Gretzky tries to shovel it from the right boards in front. Blocked off, and it's played by Pullen to the point. Huddy keeps it in, but Pullen takes the jump in. He's taken off the puck by Krushelnyski, and then the Flyers do get it up to Brown at center ice. Coming over the line. He's got 2 men with him. Shoots right on. And it's in the left glove of Moog. Steers around behind the net. Wheels it out, and it's played by Curry on the fly into center ice. Taken away by Mars to Brown, who turns at the red line and lifts it in, and it's hit hard by Coffey. And the hat flips off Dave Brown, who looked and got the number of that truck. Up ice, the Oilers. Curry through into center ice. Here comes McTavish along with Hunter. Drop pass Hunter. Top of the left circle drive off the stick of Brad Marsh and up into the end seat. We have 6:57 remaining in a scoreless first period with a break in the action.
Dave Hunter, again, another one of those players you talked about, Gene, who really fits in well with the 5 superstars that the Oilers have. But the Flyers have done a very good job this season of playing that switch when that forward comes down. When it's a 2-on-2 situation, Eddie, they're able to switch and take the man that will cross.
In the first period at St. Louis, Mike Eagles of Quebec giving the Nordiques a 1-0 lead. Larry Melnick is on the point with Steve Smith, and up front, the Oilers go with Napier, Hunter, and McTavish against the Flyers, Zezel, Prop, and Kerr. Prop getting a lot of ice time in this first period?
Yep.
Flyers crossman off the far board. Prop gathers it in. Puck rolls, and he flips it in the air. Bounces in on Moog. Oh, and he got it on the wrist of the catching glove, and then had to hug it to the breadbasket for dear life.
That's a tough play for a goaltender because a goaltender should be out and aggressive to get as close to that puck as he can when it bounces. And the puck was just dumped in high, just bounces, and sometimes it can take a weird bounce. This time it didn't, as Moog was able to get out there and play it and hang on to it. But that's a dangerous play. You never know which way that puck's going to bounce, especially if it lands on its edge.
They should have that play as they do in a punt return for football. Fair catch, where you can put your arm up there and move out there to get
They just noted that Andy Moog's lifetime regular season record against Philadelphia is 1-6. Kerr, Prop, Zezel, Howe, and Hospodar. Messier on, along with McTavish and Napier. There's a drop. Scramble rolls in on Moog, wheels it around the low. Up on the right side, McTavish is run into Hospodar, but the puck skips past both of them in the Flyer zone. Napier putting pressure on Prop. Oh, he tried to clear it through Napier, who blocked. Flyers give it away to the point. Fogelin with a shot right on. And Jensen the kick save. A rebound up for grabs. The Flyers clear it away to Kerr at center ice. Tries the headman prop, but it scoots into the Oilers zone and moves. Plays it to Napier, and he deflects through into center ice with 6:18 remaining. Into the Oilers zone and out past Napier by Fogelin and sent back in deep by Philadelphia's Howe. Moak takes it. Off to low, and McTavish is now sent through by Dave Hunter at center ice at the Flyer line. A wraparound. Reading the play on the near side was Tocchet to cut off Napier, but it goes to the point to Huddy. He tries to go in deep. It skips past Craven, and Howe wheels it around to Hospital in the Flyers' right wing corner. Up in that far wing, and Kerr can't handle it. Eklund tries to make the play. Bouncing puck, and that has been the bugaboo of both teams tonight, and smooth transition play at center ice. Billy Eklund now for the Flyers. He's got Sinisalo behind the defense. Shoots it instead. Moak sets it up behind, and a Craven in there. So Moog wheels it to the near corner. Oilers there to try to play out. Flyers take it off. Sinisalo into the slot. Eklund is shot over the top of the net. Fighting for the rebound. Offensive right corner is Crossman. Wheels it high off the glass behind the Oiler net. Craven has it poked away on the near side by Huddy, and then it's played by Dave Lumley into center ice. March fighting off the check of Kevin McClellan. Works down that right side and pumps it again behind Moog as the Flyers are playing jump in. There's a steal by Eklund along the right side. Had trouble dealing with the puck as he had nowhere to go with it. And the Oilers get it up to Semenko's on for the first time along with Lumley. And Coffey, look out, there he is. In for Lumley, trying to go about knee-high for a deflection. Rolls to Pelle Eklund, and he carries into the neutral zone to Brad Marsh. Marsh at the Oiler line, over the line, but Rich Sutter, anticipating a headmanning left wing pass, went in offside. 4:51, scoreless first period, left to play, and a break in the action.
Boy, what a journey Lumley had for Edmonton last year. Picked up on the intra-league draft by Hartford at the start of the year. Then Hartford Whalers put him on waivers right near the tail end of the season. The Edmonton Oilers picked him back up. So he considered himself a very fortunate individual.
Right time at the right place. Another Stanley Cup.
So proud of this joint tonight, gentlemen, because they've accepted what's happened this week. They had their farewell, and they're showing that the game and the life goes on. That's super. Well, we kind of figured that, didn't we?
Yeah.
We figured this club has character, and that has to rub off on the fans. Now Krushelnyski tries to penetrate. It's pulled down by McCrimmon. The Flyers might have gotten a little help there as the Flyers dump it all the way down. Steve Smith, no play after it in pursuit. The Oilers may touch up, and we have an icing call. Laurie Melnick. 4:31 remaining first period. Each team has had 2 power plays to ill effect. 9-7 the shots. Philadelphia penalties even at 2.
Melnick came over from the Boston Bruins in '84. They sent John Blum to the Bruins for him. A former 5th-round draft pick out of New Westminster. He is no relation to the Flyers' Jerry Melnick. As Glenn Sather looks on from behind the bench. But Edmonton has had a couple of trades with the Boston Bruins.
Yep.
And they've dealt players that have helped both teams. So Kenny Linsman, one that really helped out and for the Bruins. And Krushelnyski has really been a fixture on the left side for Gretzky.
Rich Sutter up on the near side is tied up by the defense. Tried to stumble through and then buries his man. He buried Larry Melnick. The puck behind the Oiler net. Gretzky taps out, and it's played up the middle beautifully on a drop pass right towards Krushelnyski to Curry. Back to Krushelnyski at center ice. Tocchet breaks it up. Oh, and as he's bumped in, he gets that elbow right up into the snoot. There goes Howe into the zone, but the play had come out to center ice, and Howe took it in offside.
Boy, I'll tell you, these clubs are going at one another. Every time you get a chance with that good stiff body check, they're taking full advantage of it, and they've really thrown some good stiff checks. Sutter was going around the outside of Melnick, and Melnick just stepped in front of him. The puck went off the boards, and all of a sudden, when Melnick turned around, Richie Sutter was there waiting and really drilled him into the boards.
Boy, so much of that is balance as well. Melnick turning, so you're on, most of your balance is on one foot. So when you get hit, and you got hit very solidly by Rich Sutter, it even looks worse because you go flying.
You're helpless.
Yes, sirree.
Brown on the right, Derek Smith on the left, centered by Davey Poulin with Crossman and Marsh. The Oilers with Messier at center ice. They have Ramo Suminen on the left wing and Glenn Anderson on the right. Defensively, Fogelin with Kevin Lowe. Flyers wheel it around behind the Oiler net. Move, wheels it sloppily into the near corner. Anderson has to retreat away from the forechecking of Derek Smith. Plays in front of his net all off the left wing side, and Lowe